Hello and welcome to the African Community Forum. My name is Shanika Grimshaw and I'll be your host for today. On today's show, we'll discuss if America's immigration system is past due for a reform and whether President-elect Donald Trump is the right president to help mold the future of American migration. Here with me to discuss is Fatmata Berry, Christina Fry, and Sophie Cisse. Fatmata is an attorney at Berry Law Center, a past chair of the Montgomery County African Affairs Advisory Group, member of the East County Citizens Advisory Board, and executive member of the African Immigrant Caucus and immigration lawyer in the DC metro area. Christina Fry is an event producer of the New American Expo, a community activist for New Americans, and the owner of Quadri Communications, LLC. Sophie Cisse is a past chair and member of the African Affairs Advisory Group, member of the NAACP Parents Council, and a community activist for New Americans. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How's everyone today?
We're doing good.
Good. So, as we all know, Donald Trump's win for the presidential bid has triggered deep anxiety amongst a lot of Americans, especially the immigrant community. Why is the immigrant community shaken up so much?
Uncertainty. What will happen under this new administration? Will they be rounded up in the mornings? We've all heard how some local law enforcement are being now looked to enforce federal immigration law. So the immigrant community is quite anxious simply because they don't know what will happen under a Trump administration.
Yes.
Yes.
And there were some things in the past that our president-elect have made. You know, he's made comments, and I could just see how that would really scare a lot of people. You know, even running, a lot of people are surprised that that was even said.
Yeah, it's in the Latino community. There is a lot of fear. There are mothers who are finding a person to adopt their children because they think they're going to be deported. Children who don't want to go to school because they think when they come back home, their dad or their mom won't be there. They're going to be deported. So there is a lot of fear and anxiety, and we all expect for good things. We really don't want Donald Trump and his new team to enforce things that are going to hurt our communities.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so several past presidents have had a pretty extensive immigration reform, but haven't been able to get Congress to follow along. What makes Donald Trump's immigration reform different from other presidents?
Well, I'm not sure he really has an immigration reform per se. At least he has not stated the immigration reform. What he has said was that criminals will be removed. That's already in play. President Obama already had a directive that directly indicated that the focus for USCIS and for ICE was going to be for people who are criminals. They're the ones who will be deportable, not the mother and the father who are not doing anything. Those who are living and upholding the laws within which they live. So really, what he's talking about is something sort of in play, to a certain degree. When he talks about the wall and so on and so forth, yes, he could conceivably do that, but the cost is going to be astronomical for the country itself. So for those who think it's a fantastic idea, get ready for, if he does implement it, for taxes to rise up, because he has to get the money somewhere. And I'm not sure Congress, which is a Republican Congress right now, would approve the funding that would be required to build this wall. And so I'm not sure it's different per se. I'm waiting to see what immigration policy he's going to actually put in play. I know there are already immigration policies that are being introduced by congressional members, which right now, of course, does not really benefit the country itself, neither does it benefit the immigrants. And I'm sitting and waiting to see what the next steps are, because he talks a lot of things about what he would do, and it does stress people out. And any of it is possible if Congress is willing to fund it. And their Congress that has been very tight. It's Republican Congress. So their motto is, we don't put money into federal government. And this will require money into federal government, and a lot of it.
A lot of it.
So.
Okay. Well, because it requires a lot of money, it might not really happen. Because when he did mention, oh, we're just going to build a wall, everyone took it as a joke, because no one thought, oh, who's going to get this funding? What's going to happen? So maybe people are a lot less scared because, the funding. A lot of people, you have to go through Congress and it might not pass.
And the wall has now become a fence. So it's not necessarily a wall anymore. It is now a fence, according to the last discussions of his television appearance. So we're not sure what the next level would be, because the question is money, basically, is money. The Republican Congress has an immigration reform bill that they have not discussed, nor voted on. They have not put on the floor to even make a decision on. It passed the Senate a couple of years ago, but the House has not put it on the floor, so it's just sitting there.
All right, so we have to wait and see. All right, and why is there a constant misunderstanding with new immigrants?
Well, I think there is a constant misunderstanding because they are the ones who are voiceless. They are ones that are the most vulnerable of the whole American population, and they are easy to pick on. Every election, they pick immigrant. The immigrant community is the one who is responsible for this, responsible for that. And you know what? The numbers are different. The numbers are saying that the immigrant community is supporting the country, is supporting the small businesses, is supporting the farming industry, is supporting the small industries in this country. The restaurant owners, the hospitality industry is all supported by the immigrant community. They pay taxes. So if you see the numbers, they are supporting this economy. And they are voiceless. That's why all the politicians pick on them, and it's very easy. And the media plays on them also, and it becomes a mess. But if you see the numbers, immigrants are a blessing for this country.
Absolutely.
And they're easy to scapegoat.
Right.
Yeah.
It is easy to just get people all riled up about the unknown, when there are certain issues that perhaps you're putting on the back burner. You don't want to confront issues that matter more
Right.
to people. So yeah, immigrants are easier targets.
Right.
And as Christina said, they don't have a voice.
Yes.
And they're trying to abide by the laws. They're trying to fend for their families. They don't have time to really get into it all as those who perhaps have papers. But those are not being targeted. It's the easier, those who are voiceless, those who perhaps are scared to come out of the shadows. And they're not known. I think that's at the crux of it.
All right.
The folks who are talking about them don't know who they are that know them.
All right. All right. So when we return, we'll talk about sanctuary cities in the area and what that could mean during a presidency, Trump presidency. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Checking your fantasy league?
Nah, just my 401k statement.
Nice. Where'd you find the money for that?
I just been saving a little every month.
I can't seem to save anything.
Well, what about all this? What about the money you're spending?
What money? It's gone before I can get my hands on it.
I got a pizza for a Todd.
Hey, can somebody spot me?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
It's 547.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
The fact that Tacoma Park is a sanctuary city, we've been a sanctuary city since 1985. That is something that's very important to the residents here in Tacoma Park, particularly after this last election and the threats by President-elect Trump to cut federal funding to cities that remain sanctuary cities. It's important to us because we want to make sure that everyone in our community knows that they are welcome and that if you live in our city, you'll be treated with respect and dignity and not with hatred and have to live in fear. It may, we don't know yet, like many things with this next president, what is actually going to happen, but there have been discussions of the possibility of us losing some of our federal funding if we remain a sanctuary city.
I mean, there are things that we don't do, and it may well be that, Trump decides that he's going to punish jurisdictions that don't do that, but he's going to find that it's a lot of people and a lot of residents of the United States who are going to be adversely affected. I mean, if he cuts funding, for example, he's just not hurting the immigrant community, but he's hurting everybody in Montgomery County who looks at federal money for whether it's health issues or transportation issues or, education issues. And I'd ask him, what's the point of hurting, Americans to make a point over immigrants? That's just not what he ought to be doing. I think he'll find a lot of backlash.
So the main difference between us and New York City and Los Angeles and Chicago and other major cities is that their budgets don't go to the Congress, and ours does. But I will say there have been a number of politicians who have threatened a lot of things as it relates to the District of Columbia, and we know the issues that they tend to focus on. And I'm not sure that Trump will be any different. They tend to be the social issues. And most recently, it has been the budget autonomy referendum. It's been around women's choice and health care, needle exchange, and the like. Those hot button social issues that legislators want to make a point, a national point in DC, a point that they can't make in their own electorates. So that is a concern that we have.
Hello everyone and welcome back. A sanctuary city has adopted policies or laws that limit law enforcement and government officials from assisting the federal government on enforcing the federal immigration laws. Over 200 cities, counties, and states fall under this definition, and part of Donald Trump's immigration reform is to end sanctuary cities. Most of the DC Metropolitan area is considered a sanctuary city, and for many of these jurisdictions, officials now have the tough decision of either doing what's best for their community or perhaps facing the consequences from a Trump-fueled federal enforcement. So what does this mean for the community as far as funding?
Well, unfortunately, that goes to Donald Trump. And that goes to Congress. Because the reality is the funding does not necessarily come from the president himself. The funding comes from the Congress. And so they have to determine if they will put into law something that says sanctuary cities are illegal. And if they're illegal, you cannot get funding for ABCD. But the reality is a lot of what happens within states is independent to that state. So I'm not sure, I can't speak for sure how it would necessarily affect funding, but that is one way to threaten, to determine whether you will have effect on a city or state that says we are a sanctuary city. New York is, and de Blasio has been as vocal as he could possibly be that the federal government cannot come in and tell them what to do. And that's basically what it is. The federal government should not be able to go in at this stage to tell them whether they can be a sanctuary city or not, because it's on a state-by-state basis. Now, they can still come in, as federal government, because federal law trumps a lot of times. I hate to say it that way, but federal law,
No pun intended.
no pun
right?
intended, state law on many angles. So that is a way to sort of put pressure on individual states and cities, because, and at least in Maryland, we have a Republican governor, so he can decide to sort of go in line
Yes.
with them, and the funding that he provides to each county may then be affected based on whether they're following the state mandate.
Okay.
And you have to believe also that these cities that have come out and proclaimed their cities as sanctuary cities, they're not doing that in a vacuum. They have top-notch legal advice. They have people who understand what it's all about. And like I said, they know what they're doing. They know what the fight is all about. And it's being done for the sake of the city, for the sake of the people. And the people will rally behind, their leaders. I'm thankful to have heard Muriel Bowser of DC say, we are a place that brings community together, as has been proclaimed here in Montgomery County, as has been proclaimed in several other cities and jurisdictions. And I think it behooves the Trump administration to look at really what the issues are, as opposed to looking for easy targets.
And I think for us here in Maryland, the voice of the communities is what can stave off any sort of acquiescence from our governor, because the reality is the governorship we have fits in with the presidency we have and the Congress we have. So it will be very easy to sort of be in line. But as communities, it's incumbent upon us to ensure that the person we have that's leading us is quite aware of what the ramifications are if you do not maintain what you found when you came, to the betterment of the community and to the betterment of the people who are here. And that comes in with civic engagement, comes in with making your voice heard, comes in with ensuring that Annapolis knows that without these counties supporting you, you will be out of office in 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Montgomery County, 35% of Montgomery County was born abroad. I'm talking about 350,000 people who were born abroad and are immigrants in one level or another, but undocumented or documented, but they are immigrants, and they have the children at school, they are working, they are paying taxes. It's one of the most powerful counties in the United States. What is he telling you? That immigrants are not coming here to abuse the system. Immigrants are coming here to start businesses, to work very hard, 2 shifts, 3 shifts, weekends, and take care of the children. So that is the immigrant community in Montgomery County, and is one of the most powerful counties in the U.S. That's the influence we can have.
One question that I have is, now a lot of immigrants do not know their rights. How could we change that? Because the government, they pick on let's pick on the little guy. Let's pick on the little guys, and if you don't know your rights, I mean, where do you turn? Who do you turn to? How could we change that? Because I think that once they know their rights, a little bit more education on how our system works, they could fight back.
Absolutely. And I mean, we have civil society organizations, nonprofit organizations. We have the African Immigrant Caucus, and several others within the Latino community that are really educating our community members about what their rights are, and not to fall victim, because you have shysters out there who would try to take advantage of the current situation.
Absolutely.
Actually calling on immigrants and telling them, I can fill out this form for you for this amount of money and all of that, when none of it is true. But there are community organizations that are all about educating the immigrant community on what their rights are and identifying who to go to and some of the things to try to stay away from.
Yeah, we are asking people to be a member of an organization, CASA, to go to Catholic Charities. I mean, we have a lot of strong organizations with legal advice that can help people out to understand what are their rights. And we're very lucky to be in Montgomery County. We're talking about Montgomery County. We have a lot of community organizations that are helping our immigrant community to be informed, to know about their rights, and how to understand the American system. So we're very lucky to be here in Montgomery County.
And don't be afraid.
And don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid, because a lot of our folks are scared to even come and talk to you as an immigrant because of what you think may happen if their secret, quote unquote, comes out. But for many, you are in the system. They know you are in the system. They've cherry-picked right now who the focus is on. That does not mean that they don't know about your existence in the U.S. Speak to someone who can assist you. For most of us, it's better that way. And as an attorney, if you speak to an attorney, it is confidential. It cannot go any further than the attorney that you spoke to. It should not go any further. It's against the law. We can lose our license, so people should know that. You can speak to an attorney and tell them what's happening.
All right, thank you. That's a great piece of advice. All right, and if federal funding is cut to most of these cities, should the cities still have to pay taxes?
I would say no. I mean, only because if the main reason for paying taxes is for what? For the benefits you receive from the federal government. And if the benefits that benefits the community is not being provided, then why pay taxes? Right. It's a basic as that.
I agree.
Okay.
You pay federal taxes for a purpose. So if federal funding is going to be withheld, perhaps we should consider not paying federal taxes. But I think that's for bigger players and people who know what the stakes are.
So.
All right, fair enough. Well, stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you? You know you do. That's why we're here. We're free and here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Picking a college, man. You and us go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos. Go to GetSchooled.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we wrap up, we'll discuss some precautions immigrants can take and where to turn for help. What's the solution for illegal immigrants in America?
Create a path to citizenship.
Okay.
Because that's really what all of them want. Yes, they came here, they've lost status, and they're in the shadows. Let's get them out of the shadows and create a path to citizenship for them.
Yeah, pass immigration reform that help immigrants to be united with their families, to find a good job, and to be more productive.
And let's not forget that providing this for immigrants is not necessarily for their benefit alone, because of the economic benefits they bring into this country. All you have to do is look at cities where they were driven out by what at the time they called them, they used to hunt immigrants, right? A couple of years ago.
Like Arizona.
Yeah, so where they lost immigrants, now they could not find people to do certain jobs. Some farmers could no longer produce like they were producing because they no longer have people to do the work. So you have to think about the benefit that also immigrants bring into this country and the benefit of making sure that they become citizens and are able to openly provide what they've been providing behind closed doors, economic strength to the country, not just to themselves, but to the country. And we have to make sure that is put forth very strongly, because I think a lot of times people think, oh, we have to help these poor people. they also bring a lot here.
Right.
No, absolutely. For me, the actual situation of the immigration situation is modern slavery. You bring in people to work for you, and you don't give them rights at all, and you don't give them any benefit. And they can't even claim their tax returns. They give you all their money.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, our own President-elect Trump had the same people working for him. He had many applications put in to bring people from right next door to come and work at his resorts in Florida.
Right.
He claims there were no people there to do the work. I grew up in Florida. There were many people who would love to work at his resorts. But he brings in the cheaper labor, and he files immigration papers to bring them over so they can work for him. So, you know, it's all a matter of narrative. It's all a matter of what you put forth and what you ensure that people hear and know. The facts should be the things that that we use more than anything else, and make sure that people understand the steps that are being taken and the advocacy people are doing for immigrants. It's not just, oh, somebody breaks the law and we allow them to. People speed. So are you going to stop every single human being that speeds?
Yeah, you know, those 11 million people who are in this country undocumented, how they found a job here, how they got a job here in the farming industry, in the hotels, restaurants, landscaping, cleaning houses. A lot of ladies must be very happy with their Latino or their African housekeeper, babysitting, helping all those women to go to work, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to do it.
Yep.
How do they do that?
All different types of labor.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you ladies all so much for sharing your knowledge. I mean, this really goes a long way, and just thank you. I can't stress it enough.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for having us.
Yeah. All right, and beginning on December 23rd, USCIS fees will be increased. For details on this increase, please log on to www.uscis.gov. There are lots of speculations and interpretations of the immigration law. If you feel you've been wrongfully targeted as an immigrant, consult with your legal counsel. Thanks for watching.